class this Welcome to class this evening. It's a nice time having everyone on board again. So last week, Saturday rather, we had a discussion about the project management career as a whole. We begin by looking at what are the skills, responsibilities, tools, the career path, and the job opportunities that are in project management. So we started by looking at what project managements are not. And two things I think I hammered on. Project managers are not just meeting schedulers, and they are not miracle workers. These two are key. They are not note takers or secretary. They are not shielded from blame. Permit me to say they are the first people to blame if any project fail. I remember, I think in our first class, Mr. Odoka was making reference to a contractor who was asked to build an hospital. The first thing he started building is a mortuary. And the governor of the state that gave him the contract got angry about it and was asking, what is your plan for my people? So it is very, very key, right? Because nobody's going to blame the construction engineers, nobody's going to blame the laborers. The blame goes to the project manager, the one handling the project. Now, next, we move to what project manager really does. What project managers really does, and we look at the definition of project manager. And we said a project manager coordinates the elements of a project, aiming for timely completion within budgets and with high standard. Right. This role is responsible for gathering necessary resources, uniting team members, working on continuous improvement to ensure project success. Now, next we look at project manager's responsibility, which are planning, team coordination, risk management, budget oversight, client communication, and maintaining quality standard. Now we look at the core skills, whether technical, soft, or transferable. For the technical skills, we look at project methodology. Wow. Sorry, this is what we did 2 classes ago. What we did last class is methodology. I'm sorry. So sorry, please. I'm looking at it sounding strange in my ear, so I was just trying to review it again to be sure what we did. So last week, Saturday, oh, I've been. If you can hear me, can you just put up an emoji? Hello, class. Okay, thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you so much. So sorry. So last week we did project management methodology, last week, Saturday. So we'll look at the definition of methodology. Thank you, Mercy. Look at the definition of methodology. We said is a structured recipe or a game plan for planning, executing, monitoring, and completing a project. Take an example, you want to prepare a new delicacy. You go online to get the recipe, right? Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Step 4, do this. So that is what we can also define as a methodology, step by step on how to go about things. Now we have 3 main approach to methodology. We have the predictive, we have the adaptive, and we have the hybrid. So we'll be taking them one at a time because of our time. What are the features of any project management methodology? First is clear structure, roles and responsibility, planning approach, control mechanism, and success metrics. Now, the 3 main methodology, the first one is the waterfall. The first one is the waterfall, and it's also called predictive methodology. So this is sequential or linear structure. This is sequential or linear structure. That means a phase must be completed before you move to another phase. So I'll just assume, imagine you are looking at a waterfall, right? From the top to the next level, to down to the next level, down to the next level, until you get to the bottom. So just imagine it that way. So if we don't finish a phase, we can't move into another. Let's take, for example, industry that use this methodology. We have the construction. Now, for every phase in construction, we have to finish one phase before we move into another. To finish the foundation before we start building the frames. We have to finish building the frames before we start building the roof. We have to finish the roof before wiring and painting. Now, advantage of this methodology is it is simple and clear. It has a strong documentation because whenever we finish a phase, we have to sign up that phase before we move into another phase. So this makes us to have a strong documentation for this methodology. It has a fixed budget and schedule. We know averagely how much it will cost us to complete the project, and we know when we are likely to finish the project. And it's very easy to manage. Sincerely, you may not even need a PM certification, PM skill for you to manage this. And that's the reason why even non-certified construction workers can build a small batcher. Even a carpenter that doesn't go for a certification can build a small batcher because of just it's easy to manage. They know what to do and when to do it. Disadvantage, it is resistant to change. It is resistant to change because when everything is put on motion, change is difficult. Number 2 is we discover risks very late, and because of that, it always have difficulty if not well planned. Number 3 is the customers have limited say in the process. They only see the final product. They have limited say in the process. And number 4 is inaccurate estimates. We all know what this will mean. Imagine a bag of cement, as at the time we are putting in our budget is 5,000 naira, and something happened, the price rises to 7,000 or 10,000. Now, our budget will have an overrun because the price has changed. So we move to the agile methodology. And we said this is iterative and incremental approach. Now, this simply means we can move from one phase, move to the other phase, come back, check work again, and move to the next phase. We still come back, check our futures again, then move to the next phase. Now, for this, it is best for tech projects. This is best for tech projects, especially software development, product innovation, marketing campaigns. Yes, it is best for tech projects. Now, this methodology has two frameworks among others, right? And the two major frameworks are Scrum and Kanban. So they are the Six Sigma, they are the Lean, but these two are the most popular among them, Scrum and Kanban. So let us just move to Scrum and look at what Scrum is. So we say Scrum is this Now, this framework is deliberately lightweight yet powerful when properly understood. Why? Because transparency, because transparency we have transparency, we have inspection, and we have adaptation. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Now, most times when we talk about Scrum, we talk about sprints. We talk about sprints. Now, we always have a sprint event in Scrum. A sprint event, and this sprint event is like a short meeting between 1 to 4 weeks, right? Where we just meet to get feedback, build another feature, then we put it in the market again, right? Now, then we have, for the transparency and commitment, we have the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and increments. Now, for the Kanban, it's just a visual workflow management method that helps teams visualize work, limit work in progress, and maximize efficiency. So it's just like a board. This is an example of a Kanban, right? So this is a sample of a Kanban board. We have our backlog, we have our to-do, we have our in-progress review, and done. Then finally, we looked at the hybrid. Now, the hybrid is the best of both worlds, the best of Kanban and the best of predictive, that is waterfall, and the best of adaptive, that is agile. So it's just we trying to put these things two together. And one of the questions, somebody said she's into events, and which methodology is best for her. And I explained that last year December I managed a trade fair event, and I used both. Why? Because the predictive, I need to finish each phase before moving to the other. But the content, I keep changing things as things goes on, so that the event will not look boring. Now, how do we choose the right methodology? First is clarity. If we have clarity of requirements, we choose waterfall. But if the requirement has a flexible timeline, we choose waterfall, right? If it has a fixed deadline, we choose waterfall. But if it's evolving, we choose agile. If the stakeholders don't have much to say about it, all they wanted is just the product, we choose waterfall. But if we want involvement at all time, we choose agile, right? Now, that's the major thing we discussed about last week. I think the link is available for us. You can still go back and watch it. Okay. So let's look at today's class. Today, we said we'll begin with project management life cycle. Now, project management life cycle is how projects are being monitored and managed. Our projects are being monitored and managed. So project management life cycle is a series of phases that a project passes through from start to completion, different phases it passed through. So this provides a basic framework for managing projects regardless of their specific work or complexity. Project management phase, although sometimes you may have it as 4. I will explain why. We have the first one is the initiation, the second is the planning, the third is the execution. We have the monitoring and control and closure. Now, sometimes execution, monitoring, and control phases are always together. So it should not confuse us when we come across something of that nature. But majorly, it's initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure. Now, it's just simple. The initiation phase is where we decide what we wanted. We just have the idea. We brood the idea of what we want. Now, the planning phase is now where we put hands on paper and start planning it, right? The execution phase is where we do the major work. Are we building an app, a road? Are we building a dam? This is where we do the major work. The monitoring and control is where we monitor the progress of the project, we control quality. Then the closure is when the project is done and is delivered. So that's just the simple example of them. Today we'll be looking at the first two, initiation and planning. Now, the purpose of project management life cycle is for structural approach, control points, stakeholder alignment, risk management, and resource optimization. Now, let's look at the project initiation. This is where we lay the foundation of the project success. This is where we are defining the why and the what. Why do we have to do this project? What will we get at the end of the project? Now, the initiation stage or the phase is the starting point, and this is where the projects are born. Now, it is the foundation of every project, and it marks the beginning where projects are identified, business case are established, and initial approval is secured. Now, for every project, there is always a business side of it. There's always a business side of it. So let us put this at the back of our mind. So what are the critical success factors of this phase? Number one is involve the right people. We identify who are our key stakeholders from the day one. We'll see how to build a stakeholder register. Be thorough, we don't rush, we invest our time, because this is where the whole planning is all about. We take things step by step, get a clear explanation for them. Now, we document everything because it is very important. We document everything and every phase, and we get a formal approval. A formal approval, which is a signed charter. That is a project charter that, yes, this project can begin. Now, let's look at the deliverables in this phase, initiation phase. The first deliverable is our business case development or a business case document. Now, this is a justification document that outlines the problem, opportunities, expected benefits, costs, risks, and alignment with organizational goals. It answers the fundamental question, why should we do this project? Now, what are the components of this document? The first is the problem / the opportunity statement. For example, if we look at our education now, especially when we look at the at skill development, we can come up with a problem and say there is no structured skill development process in Nigeria. There may be, but let's just assume we are building a solution for structured skill development. Now, we are defining a clear description of our business need. We want to build a structured key development framework that anybody that wants to do training on skill development can jump on it and build it. Now, we need to describe this problem or this opportunity in clear terms that anybody that picks it understands it. Right? Now, expected benefits, quantifiable advantage. What are the return on investment? What are cost savings? What are revenues? High-level cost estimates. This is not a precise budget, but this is just a rough estimate of what it will cost the whole project. Okay, we need to build a learning platform. This is how much it will cost us. We need to do marketing. This is how much it will cost us. We need to do this. This is how much it will cost us. I think I will send in a sample with explanation. One of the documents I use most time is a sample of a business case with explanation on each phase.
Can anyone hear him?
No. Can't hear him.
Okay, I think it's having network issues. Let's just give him some time. But any question so far, you can put your question in the comment section. Any confusion, any question?
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you now, but we lost you for a moment.
Okay, so sorry about that. Please, can you see my screen?
No.
Okay, I guess the last thing I said was I'm going to share a document of a sample of a business case that I use more often, right? Now, step-by-step development process. First is we identify the problem and opportunity. Now, this is we conducting a preliminary analysis to understand the business need, interview stakeholders, review data, and document the current state versus desired state. Now, this is very important because sometimes what many founders or many stakeholders feel is a business or an idea is actually not scalable, meaning you can't build on it, you can't expand it. Somebody just thought about something, maybe what they are experiencing, they cannot get recharge card that moment, and they start thinking, what about if I build an app? And now you ask them, you conduct a preliminary analysis to understand the business need. Will people buy a paper recharge card? Not likely, though they sell it, but not likely, right? Because I believe most people buy from their app now. So imagine somebody try to buy recharge card from their app and they find it difficult, and boom, the next idea is, why don't we start printing out this recharge card on paper and start selling it? Now it may look like a nice idea, but when we conduct our preliminary analysis, we would discover that this may not be sellable, right? Now we define expected benefits. We need to quantify tangible benefits, from revenue to costs to intangible benefits like customer satisfaction, brand reputation. Now we use what is called a SMART goal, right? But it has been modified to a SMARTer: specific, measurable, attainable, reliable, and time bound. Then we review it all over again. Now we need to analyze strategic alignment. Now, is this aligned with the organizational strategic goal, or is just a one-off? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I think this is okay now. Let me just, sorry. I think it's okay now. So we analyze strategic alignment with the organizational goal. Now we estimate our high-level costs. If we are putting in social amounts, what are we getting out from it? Because every project has a business side. Everybody wants to make profits. Even up to the road, when the government make roads, sincerely, it looks free, but it's because they want to make profits. It may not be through revenue, it may not be through toll gates, but there are so many profits they gain from it. Now, assess major risks. What are our high-level risks? Here we define our high-level risks, and we present for approval. Now, after doing all these things, we present it as an approval from the what's it called now? From the stakeholders. Now, the next deliverable is a project charter development. Now, a project charter is a formal document that authorizes the existence of a project. That means, yes, a project exists, and it provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. Now, the essential charter components are project purpose, objectives, high-level scope, stakeholders, project manager authority, success criteria, high-level risks, and budget estimates. Now, a charter checklist must have a clear purpose stated. We must have a clear purpose stated. We must have scope boundaries defined. So whenever we are writing our scope, we will write what is included and not included in this project. If we are building a road, What is included? The drainages, the pedestrian bridge, yes, is included. What is not included is flyovers. We may not be included, so we need to write it out so that everybody will see. And the PM authority specified to what extent can the PM make decisions, right? To what extent can he make changes? So all these are needed in our project charter. I will send a sample of a project charter so we can see. Stakeholders register. I've always talked about this. Now, stakeholders are those who have interest in the project, but it is not every information that every stakeholder needs to know. Right? For example, if a government is building a school, the students don't need to know how much it costs to build the school. The teachers don't need to know that. But they need to know what kind of school, what will be in the classrooms. Are we going to use iron chairs and desks or plastic chair and desks? Is there going to be AC? Are we going to use blackboard or whiteboard? Now, we need to know who has power and interest in this. So most times we do this by using these four rectangles that I have. The first is high power, high interests. Now, these people manage closely. They are key players who need frequent engagement. Then we have high power, low interests. These are influential, but they are not really interested. Now we have the low power, high interest. These people need to be interested. These people are the interested parties, need to be updated. Then we have low power and low interest. These ones are just to be informed, or they are to monitor it. Now, the key element in this register is the stakeholder name, the title, the category. Are they internal or external? Power and influence level, which I just explained, either they are high power, high interest, or low power, low interest. Needs and expectations. Engagement strategy. How do I go about engaging them? Is it through mail? Is it through a video calls or a picture sent to them? Right? Contact information, their role in the project, interest level, communication preference, and assigned relationship owner. Now, the fourth one is the initial scope definition. Now, the initial scope definition defines the boundary. It defines the boundary of what the project will and will not accomplish. What will this project accomplish and it will not accomplish? Now, this is a high level for project deliverables, objective, constraints during initial phase, but we'll still talk about it in the planning phase. Now, the scope definition best practice is use clear, unambiguous language. We should be specific. We should get stakeholders' agreement and sign off, review, refine in planning phase, which we'll be talking about next. Document assumptions made and the rest of them. So the initial scope is for this level is just an high level, so just for us to have an idea of what the scope will be. Then we need to have a visibility study. Now, this is just evaluating the process that assesses whether a project is viable or worth pursuing. Just as I said earlier, that because someone cannot buy recharge card from their app doesn't mean they now have a new idea of why don't we print out it so it will be easier to load. may look good, but this is not viable and worth pursuing. So this deliverable will help us know if it is viable and worth pursuing. Now, the core deliverable checklist, we have the business case, we have the stakeholder register, visibility study, initial budget estimate, high-level risk log, high-level scope statement, and we have our project charter. Now, after having those in our initiation phase, we now move to the planning phase. Now, in the planning phase, this is where we create the roadmap for the project execution. Now, we have put in all effort and discovered that, yes, this project is viable. For example, I think in our first class, I talked about me managing a project for an organization that are taking northern youths in AI knowledge, and it's for the 19 northern states in Nigeria. So the first time I was contacted was around October last year, and the whole project started January. So they took a lot of time doing the initiation there before they reach out back to me. We work on the planning around December together. Then we started the execution in January. So this phase is most critical because an error here means the whole project will fail. An error, a not well defined, will make the whole project fail. Now, the planning phase is where you determine the actual step to achieve project goals. Now, why is this planning phase matter? Why does it matter? Number one is to prevent scope creep. Now, because we have a clear scope statement where we define what is included and not included in the project. We have a work breakdown schedule establishing boundaries, right? Enable resource optimization. It helps us allocate resources and prevent bottleneck. Facilitate risk management. It identifies risks and mitigate it. Set realistic expectations. Enable performance measurements and improve communications, right? Now, in this phase, we have 10 basic deliverables. Sometimes these deliverables all are on a single document. They may not be different. Sometimes they are just on a single document where we will have to just fill in everything. Now, one of the deliverables, so I'll be talking about the major ones, right? Major ones and more often used. One of them is project management plan. This is like a master document that defines how the project will be executed, monitored, and controlled, right? Now, the plan components are baselines. One, what is our scope baseline? What is our schedule baseline? Cost baseline? Resource baseline? Time baseline? And the rest of them. Two is our subsidiary plans. So these are little plans that came together to make up the bigger plan. Then we have our management plan. How are we going to manage changes? How are we going to manage requirements changes? And the project information. Now, the development process is we review the previous project charter. You know, the last project charter is a high-level project charter. Now, we review that. We now break it down into simpler ones where the simpler ones, we identify key stakeholders who must be involved in the planning. We develop a subsidiary plan. We create detailed plans for each knowledge area, involve subject matters experts, and use appropriate tools and techniques for each plan. The next one is to ensure alignment, establish baselines. So we need to define our scope baseline. We need to create a schedule baseline. We need to create a cost baseline. Now we define our change control. How do we accept change? How do we implement change? And we obtain our formal approval. Now, the next deliverable is the scope statement and the WBS. The scope statement and the WBS. Now, the scope statement provides a detailed description of the project scope, which is what will be involved, what will be included and not included in the project. Now, the scope description, the deliverables and accepted criteria, the constraints and assumptions. That means our limitations and factors considered through what we will not be doing. While the WBS is the work breakdown structure, that this is the hierarchical discomposition of the total scope of work. It breaks down deliverables into manageable work packages. Who is doing what, when, how. So these are just the how we write down our work breakdown schedules. Right? Now the third is a project schedule and a Gantt chart. A project schedule and a Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart is a visual representation of our project schedule showing tasks as horizontal bars on timeline. Now, the project schedule is just like our timeline. So I believe in our next class, we should try and create an account with Jira or ClickUp. So in our next class, we'll be taking a practical class looking at ClickUp. So the schedule development process, it defines activities, sequence activities, estimate activities duration, develop project schedule, create Gantt chart, optimize baseline. This is where we talk about dependencies also. Fourth is resource plan and our RACI metrics. The resource plan is how do we get these resources, how do we identify, acquire, manage, and release them. So this is just simple. While the RAIC is who is responsible, who is accountable, who is to be consulted, and who is to be informed. RAIC. Okay, because of our time, I'm just trying to rush up. So we have the cost estimate and the budget. This is just knowing what and what we need per phase and per resource, right? Then we have our risk register. So this is where we log in all the assumpted risks, what we think can happen, and what are our plans to mitigate them. If this happens, what do we do? Right? If this happens, what do we do? If this happens and there's need for change, how do we go about implementing the change? So that is just the register. Then the other ones is we have the quality management plan, the communication plan, who to be informed, when they need to be informed, how they need to be informed. Procurement management plan. This plan is when we have a large and complex project. How do we get these things? When do we get them? And how do we control how to get them? Stakeholders engagement. Who is to talk to the stakeholders? How do we identify them? And the rest of them, right? Now, the core deliverable checklist are the project management plan, the scope statement or the WBS, we have the project schedule, we have the resource plan, we have the cost estimates, risk register, quality management plan, communication plan, and procurement plan. Now, the key takeaway of today's class, is first, critical success factor. Never skip initiation and planning phase. Never. Yes. We are in a hurry. We just want to just start and yes. We need, as a project manager, we need to take our time, to focus on this part. 2, involve the right stakeholders early from the day one. Involve them, know how to communicate to them early, know how to communicate, when to communicate, and the process, the procedure to communicate to them. Document everything, no matter how small, document it. And that's why if it has to do a collaborative documentation, it is advisable you use Notion or Google Sheets to document. Number 4 is use iterative refinement. So always make sure you can go back and look at it clearly. Start with the high level, then add details, right? We may just start with this is what we want to do, then start adding details. If it means you to itemize them, please do, because it is very, very key in the project execution. The best practice is establish clear baseline, plan for change, communication plan effectively, and regularly review and update. So this is what we have for the first 2 phases, the planning and the initiation phase. So in our next class, all what we'll be doing in our next class, I think we'll be having a class on just is it ClickUp? I think ClickUp, either ClickUp or Jira. It will be communicated to us by tomorrow. So we can create an account there and look at it. Also, we'll be looking at Trello. We'll be looking at Trello. Please, any question? But our next class is basically going to focus on one of the tools. We'll be using one of the tools and to be communicated to us by tomorrow morning. Any question? Questions? Anyone?
Why it's not really a question. The attendance list, I can't write my name on it.
The attendance list, I can see that I think about 7 people have written their names, so that means it does not have issue. So maybe I don't know.
I can't download it. I don't know.
It's not downloadable. It just
And
don't you
that's
have
if I
do you have a Google account in your device you are using?
yes, I have. The previous ones have been written my name. I don't know why I can't write on this one.
Based your network, because it's still the same attendance. It's still the same list. Because I created the next slide. Okay, so you guys are not asking questions. I want to ask, what is WBS? WBS. Go ahead, Deborah. What is WBS?
Work breakdown structure.
What? Okay, thank you, Deborah. What is RACI? RACI. Go ahead. What is RACI? Who knows the answer? So because these terms are key in this methodology, and you need to know the terms, all these terms that are being used. I need to know when a particular approach is used. So when he's saying WBS, when he's saying RACI. Deborah, I want to talk to us about RACI.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So R is for responsible, A is for accountable, C is for consulted, and I is for informed. Who is responsible for a particular task? Who should be held accountable? Who should be consulted? And who should be informed?
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. So all these terms that are being mentioned, you take note of them. We usually have the link of the classes after, but some of you will say, just like we're having issue, people say they can't. Many a times it's network. Many a times you need to restart your system and do it again. You'll be able to do. So many a times some of these network and the gadget malfunction. So, but as for the softwares we are using, there are 12 people have written their attendance now. So the softwares we are using, they are working. So if there's issue, it will affect everybody. So that is it. So don't shy away with the terms. Terms you don't understand, you let us know. You call us back to it, because these are the things that will form your core knowledge. And remember, there will be an exam. So before we move into the next phase, which is mentorship and internship, there will be an exam. Then people who skate through will get their certificate. So take it serious. Don't take it as one of those courses, one of those free courses. Yeah. So be consistent, because just show up. You don't need too many things to be successful. What you need is just show up. Just show up in this thing we are doing. Just show up. So we have been doing the classes, and some of you have been consistent. So try as much as you can to be consistent. So we have done this is the second week, right? So we have 2 weeks left, so that we'll conclude this phase, then we'll move into the next phase. And this will help you know what you're doing. By the time you get this certificate, you add it to your CV. I'll say it at the beginning. Most of you have not joined when I said it. Where I will bring in a HR professional that will review your CV for you, so that you know when you're applying for a job, you know that at least it's not that there are no faults in your CV and resume and all that. And also the languages to use in your CV and languages not to use in your CV. Best and also depending on the industry where you apply. So that is it. So any question? Do you guys have any question now?
Is a please can you help me out? I have